Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm Primetime Mikey Lee.
And I'm Shangerous Devon Storm.
Welcome to episode 197, Hostile City Showdown 1996.
Woo. It's a hostile city, at least based on all the ECW matches we've watched. I mean, they're pretty hostile.
A little bit.
And,
we're at 197.
Yeah, and it's a town where when the team does well...
200 episodes. Wicked.
A town where they, the Phillies were recently in the World Series, and the Eagles have been doing good. They've had to grease some poles. You only need to grease poles in a hostile city.
That's right. So this was the third annual Hostile City Showdown produced by ECW. It would take place on April 20th, 1996, from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with an attendance of 1,075.
Hanging from the rafters.
The stoners are not there, eh? Oh, 420. Not the full 1,100 we had last... No, wait, no. Last time it was in Queens.
Yeah.
So that might be why.
Yeah, this packs out at I think they've called it 1100.
I think they were at 12 for CyberSlam,
really?
Which I think was the last show.
Yeah, I was talking about last week's one where we were in Queens. Yeah, typically they hit 1150.
Between 11 and 12, yeah, at this point.
It's like the most they can fit.
Probably.
And fire hazard.
Fire marshal would have to show up.
Mm-hmm. This show, only 7 days after Queens Boulevard.
That is true. So Shane, we're in Philly.
We are.
Did you find us something?
I did. Michael started to talk about it, sort of, kind of, a minute ago with the whole greased poles things, but... So, I decided to do something different. It's inspired by something that's mentioned shortly into this show. Like I said, typically I will do something that is inspired by the city, a popular drink, food, something like that, or something that just is inspired by the actual show itself. And for today's show, I have made for us blowjobs. It is a shot.
Clink, clink.
Amaretto, Bailey's, topped with some whipped cream. Here we go. Let's just
Hope
1, 2, 3, go.
Stutter through
it. Delicious.
Yep. Now, technically, we were supposed to do these with no hands, but I figured nobody can see us, so we'll just drink them as is.
Yeah, we can cut that out. We did it with no hands.
Yeah. Hands-free blowjobs.
We did it. We put up our hands like we were the gangsters and threw it back.
Yeah. These,
I'm sure New Jack would approve.
Pretty sweet drinks. Yeah, you'll hear them known as blowjobs or cocksuckers or something like that at the bars, and it is as simple as a half shot of amaretto, a half shot of Bailey's layered on top of each other. Sometimes people will throw Kahlua in there as well, which I think is called a sloppy blowjob or something like that.
I feel like Bailey's and Kahlua feels like putting a hat on a hat. Like, how different are they?
Well, one tastes like coffee, the other one tastes like Irish cream. Totally different flavors.
Hat on a hat. I don't know. In my head, they're kind of the same thing, but I don't know. I don't drink those so very.
I mean, when you said that, I was like, yeah, they kind of are the same thing. And then he said that, and I was like, okay, they are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you know what this tastes like to me?
Cake.
Yeah, but it tastes like a kind of like a.
It really
does. It tastes like cake. Yeah, it tastes like a fancy cake, but it also kind of tastes like almondy White Russian because of the amaretto.
Yep.
But it's got like that alcohol taste and the cream, and then even more cream.
It's two sweet liqueurs and then topped with whipped cream, and it goes very well together.
It's very sweet, but it was kind of nice and kind of fun because it was
I mean, blowjobs are kind of nice and kind of fun. So
I mean, yeah, no one's arguing. The Another thing that kind of ties into wrestling, I learned this, I believe, from a Colt Cabana podcast at some point in time. I don't know if it was his show, which I haven't listened to much of, or if he was doing an interview on something else, but that the whipped cream is a like wrestler like low calorie snack that they will do on the road where it's like, I want something sweet, but like I want it low calorie, and it's only like 15 calories per serving for a can, so you get like a whole can and it's only like 200 calories or something like that. So if you're, trying to stay in shape,
sweet treats, sitting upright, and you have your mind elevator.
Oh yeah, for sure. Taking some whippets before you whip it.
Yeah.
And they but yeah, so I think he was telling a story about like him and like Steen, sharing a room back in the day. It's like, oh yeah, we just turn on the TV and got our cans of whipped cream, and we were just hanging out, sipping on whipped cream and watching TV at night. And I'm like,
forget the frozen grapes, just go for the whippet. Or the whipped cream.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess this actually plays into last week's show too, with the whole Blue Sunday whipped cream, la 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 la.
So yeah, if you're trying to watch your weight but you want something sweet, maybe get you a can of whipped cream. Who doesn't like whipped cream? It's nice.
Well, a few days earlier, something that would happen around the same time as Hostel City, the Chicago Bulls would win their 70th game of the season, passing the 1971-72 Lakers for the most wins in an NBA season. They would end up finishing the season a few days later with 72 wins before going on to win the NBA championship. And their record of 72 wins would last until 2016, when the Golden State Warriors would win 73.
Is this the one of the wins that's part of the first three-peat?
Yes.
Okay.
This is Rodman's first year with the Bulls.
The Worm! Maybe one of the best nicknames of all time. Dennis Rodman rules. He'd just like...
I miss old Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, it was so cool because he'd just like go fuck off and be like, where the fuck are you? And they'd show up and he would still fucking just like party and get away from everything and like not come to practice. And he'd still show up and just fucking tear the house down and do his goddamn job.
Like, where were you? Oh, I was hanging out with Madonna in wedding dresses. Getting
my
hair done.
Mm-hmm. I went and did a bunch of drugs and gambled all weekend, and then showed up and fucking did the damn thing. Hell yeah, he was a goddamn rock star. Maybe the last rock star, honestly, because they don't exist anymore. But yeah, I remember this going on as I had friends and stuff as a kid that were sports fans. I was never really compelled by sports as a child, but you can't escape the Bulls. And then, of course, most people during, early pandemic, the Last Waltz was on streaming or whatever. And what an incredible way to spend 10 hours,
Absolutely.
It's really, really great. It's compelling whether you give a shit about sports or not. Michael Jordan is the most famous athlete of all time. And, what's more compelling than that?
Correct.
Yep.
The only sad part about the whole thing is that Golden State ended up beating the record in Kevin Durant's first season.
Yeah.
With the Warriors, especially us being here in Oklahoma City, we're a little bitter.
We were also very lucky for to have that team be the first team here, because it's not normally how it goes.
That is true.
So there's some silver lining for sure, but it's also a totally different game now. They weren't shooting threes like that.
Very true.
Definitely a different game.
Though it is funny that Steve Kerr was on this Bulls team, and he was the head coach for the Warriors.
That's great.
So he's technically been part of both teams. But this Bulls team is actually one of the reasons why I even like basketball, really. Because they showed them on WGN every game.
Yeah, you were probably and they had WGN's out of Chicago.
Yeah.
And you were probably 10
I was
at the
15
time?
at the time.
You were 15 at the time? Okay, yeah.
Literally, I would have turned 15 a few days after this show. So...
Yeah, it was 8 or 9.
Literally would watch the Bulls games every night.
Yeah, damn. Remember
just because I loved Dennis Rodman for some reason. It made no sense, but I loved Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, it's funny too, because it's you would hear adults, or at least you were 15, but being a little kid, adults talk about Dennis Rodman being a freak and stuff like that, and what is this guy or whatever. And like as a kid, I was like, oh, I mean, I don't know, I don't really have an opinion. But as an adult, I'm like, fuck yeah, this guy rules. I would have, if I was a little older, I would have been a Dennis Rodman guy for sure, just because he had that counterculture. He was, he was alternative. And now we got a lot of sports guys that are freaks or into, not freaks I use loosely, but like they're into like fashion, and fashion is weird. Whereas we all know Michael Jordan was not into fashion. That man dressed terribly all the time, but wonderful shoe.
Best thing that came out.
This is definitely the only thing on his body that was stylish most of the time was his kicks.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk some wrestling.
Do it.
We get the title, date, and location card is shown, and Joey Styles is in the ring, welcoming the Gangstas straight from the hood.
New Jack and Mustafa.
New Jack says the last time he was in Philly, he got his ass kicked, but then tells the Eliminators that they took a licking and they're going to keep on ticking. Jack continues with, you go home, regroup, and find a way to take these motherfuckers out. And New Jack says that his old lady told him that they had gotten soft, so he watched the tapes and realized that she was right. He then calls the Eliminators out, and a brawl ensues, spilling its way out into the crowd with both teams using chairs. Saturn answers with a beer can to Jack's head before they return to the ring, where the locker room empties to stop the melee.
We gotta keep them apart.
Finally, the Eliminators leave, allowing the Gangstas to celebrate in the ring.
Put the X up.
Remember when we used that for a thing at the very end of our first episode?
No.
Yeah, I said it at the very end of our first episode.
Did you?
Yeah.
Put the X up?
Yeah.
I mean, we are Wrestling History Act.
That's right.
The X up. Next time we take a group selfie, we have to put the X up.
But that leads us right into our first match. El Puerto Riqueno versus Supernova. And
Something new.
You might know Supernova better as Simon Dean in the WWE.
I do know that name.
Or what I know him better as is he'll become part of the Blue World Order
BW.
here in ECW.
Known as Supernova then?
Supernova as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he gets rid of the face paint, right?
No.
He doesn't? Okay. I do remember BWO, but, I mean, who can forget the BWO?
Exactly. So the two men trade athletic reversals to start until Nova hip tosses Riqueno out to the floor, following out with a top rope somersault plancha. Back in the ring, El Puerto Riqueno flips over Supernova to return to the ring and nail a dropkick. He goes for a whip, only for Nova to reverse, sending Riqueno hard into the corner. Supernova yanks El Puerto Riqueno out into the corner, turning it into a sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count.
Of Power Ranger chant?
Riqueno flips over a back body drop, leaps onto the shoulders for a victory roll for a near fall, followed by a drop kick that sends Nova out to the floor. El Puerto Riqueno then follows out with an Asai moonsault.
Ooh, scary.
Makes his way back into the ring, where Riqueno tosses Supernova to the ropes, but misses a clothesline, allowing Nova to hit a super kick.
Supernova kind of saved old ELP, El Puerto Riqueno, from her ELR.
EPR.
EPR.
EDM.
EDM. But, yeah, he catches his head because it's like, ooh, that guy was about to crack his skull on our ECW4.
All of a sudden, the Eliminators jump in the ring and attack both men, hitting suplexes, kicks, and total elimination on them before rolling out of the ring, making this match a no contest.
Message to the gangsters.
Perry takes the mic to call out the Gangstas, who come to the ring with a trash can full of weapons. And the two teams trade punches and clotheslines before brawling out to the floor and into the crowd, all while the Gangstas' music plays. They continue to hit each other with all of the plunder before Mustafa decides to pose with one of the tag title belts. They continue to brawl down the aisleway before heading back to the ring. And the locker room empties once more to stop the fight.
I will say, I said it earlier, hat on a hat. 16 minutes into the show, we're doing this twice.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So JT grabs a mic
We love it.
to serenade everyone.
Fly me to the moon.
I don't know any more of the words.
I don't. I should.
Well, he didn't.
Neither did the Italian Stallion.
I should know it. It's a great song.
Only for Devon Dudley to smash little Guido with a chair and giving chase to both of them to the back to save us from more singing. And even with all the wrestlers trying to separate the two groups, the Gangsters and Eliminators continue to go after each other, followed by Bad Crew back body dropping El Puerto Riqueno over the ropes to the floor.
Ouch.
Yeesh.
It's a horrible looking bump.
I know, and that, like, he's the smallest guy. Like, Mikey Whipwreck weighs more than him.
Hack Myers then knocks some sense into them with some Shaw punches that ends up clearing the ring.
Well, I don't know if it's new or not, but I did track that Bad Crew may have got new gear or more matching gear. I mean, they just were black, but I think they might have gotten.
I think Bad Crew
They
got the old Axel and Ian's old gear.
Yeah, but they got some new stitching on it.
So we go to our second match. The Dudley Boys of Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley with Sign Guy, Chubby, and Dances with Dudley versus the Pitbulls of number 1 and number 2 with Francine.
I do love Francine coming in with the Pitbulls. It's fun.
Bubba goes to introduce himself, but Francine decides to mock his size. And I don't mean his weight.
Uh-oh.
So he responds with, blowjob, which shocks everyone. The Pitbulls don't find it funny, and neither does Devon, who tells Bubba Ray to say his name without stuttering, and the fans to stop encouraging him.
Tell him, Devon.
Thanks, Devon. We really appreciate you.
Devon then turns his attentions to the Pitbulls, saying they don't scare him before giving the commandments. And when he finishes, Devon attacks, and the fight immediately spills to the floor and into the crowd.
Easy done.
Both teams take turns wrapping chairs around each other's heads, trading punches and chops, before number 2 breaks Bubba's glasses with a beer can.
Nice sell, too.
The fight makes its way right below the Eagle's Nest, where number 1 dives off the balcony with a chair onto Devon. Number 2 body slams Bubba Ray before the Pitbulls throw the Dudleys off of the platform, followed by everyone brawling their way back to ringside. Bubba's put through the timekeeper's table by number 1 and then tossed back into the crowd. And back inside the ring, Devon hits a sunset flip on number 1 for a 2 count, followed by number 2 delivering a spinning heel kick into the corner for Devon. Out on the floor, Dances with Dudley, who's still in his wheelchair, is yelling at number 2, so he gets a clothesline, allowing Francine to jump on top of him to lay it in with some more punches. Chubby Dudley comes over and he tries to break it up, only to receive a knee to the nuts for his trouble.
To his chubbies.
Exactly. Again, inside the ring, Devon is using a chair, a low blow, and a clothesline to finally take number 2 down to the mat. Number 1 attacks Devon from behind, face planting him into a chair, while Francine continues to attack Chubby on the floor with a chair as well. The Pitbulls then nail a super bomb on Bubba Ray, but then Devon just goes chair crazy, hitting everybody, including the ref.
Yeah, Pitbull 1 actually protects himself, which I appreciated. Because these guys have taken so many chairs to the head that I just kind of appreciate it when they, are moderately cautionary.
Devon then turns his attention to Francine, stalking after her around ringside,
Chair in hand.
while the Pitbulls super bomb the ref. For fun?
It was gnarly.
And I'm going to say this ended up as a known contest as well, because we don't get anything else.
Yeah.
DQ question mark?
We had no ref to finish or make an announcement, I guess. So.
It was a blizzard of a match. The Dairy Queen joke.
So we go to our third match. Taz with Bill Alfonso and Team Taz versus Dangerous Devon Storm. And we haven't seen Storm since the NWA Smoky Mountain Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship Tournament.
Ooh.
Episode 135.
Fan cam. Is that the one with the really weird commentary, or is it the other one?
Nope, it's that one.
Okay, just checking.
And Fonzie takes the mic to mock the Philadelphia Flyers and stomp on one of their jerseys.
You son of a
Stole Taz's colors.
And we get waist and wrist locks traded between the two to start, with the human suplex machine continuously taking Devon to the mat. Storm reverses a whip and leapfrogs the running Taz, only for the human suplex machine to catch him with a T-bone Tazplex. Devon ducks a clothesline and nails a springboard spinning heel kick to send the human suplex machine out to the floor, where Storm follows out with a baseball slide and a chair across the back. Devon places Taz onto the chair, and he goes back into the ring, only so that he can fly out of it with a somersault plancha onto the human suplex machine.
Devon Storm getting some offense in on Taz.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Back in the ring, Storm delivers a side slam and a moonsault for a 2 count, followed by a leg drop and a chair-assisted moonsault, only for Taz to move in time. The human suplex machine is pissed off, so he sets up a table on the floor, rolls back in to hit a chair shot over the back of Devon, but then has his whip reversed, allowing Storm to hit a running clothesline. Devon sets the chair up to leap off of for a corner splash. An air Devon, perhaps?
Something like that.
But Taz avoids and grabs Storm to belly suplex him out of the ring towards the table. But he just clips the edge of it.
Oof. Joey Styles asks the question, do you think Devon Storm buys Sabu tapes? To which I would probably say, I mean, yeah, maybe.
That looked... Ow.
Yeah,
Ow.
it was
Ow.
tough.
And the ref counts to 10 for the count-out victory.
Luckily, he misses the apron.
Yeah, but I swear it looks like he just lands flat on his back of his head on the concrete.
Yeah.
After bouncing off the edge of the table.
You know those like weird like physics simulators where it's like a dummy body?
Yep.
It's kind of like that.
A little bit.
Post-match, the human suplex machine decides he isn't done, so he rolls out to the floor and slams Devon into the table before applying the Taz mission. The human suplex machine then takes the mic, where he accuses Storm of being a Sabu wannabe. Go pay your dues and stop trying to be someone weak. But he does give him credit for showing up before mocking Sabu's pose.
Points to the air.
We then go to our fourth match. Little Guido with JT Smith versus Axel Rotten. And they are officially the FBI, the full-blooded Italians.
Female body inspectors?
As Joey introduces them as such. And Guido looks ready to go, but JT holds him back and combs his hair before taking the mic to say some Italian gibberish.
I love that Guido comes out with the Italian flag over his shoulders. Very fun.
The bell rings and little Guido charges, only to be backdropped onto the ropes. Axel continues with forearms, elbows, and a spanking. But he misses a running corner splash, allowing Guido to capitalize with sunset flips and arm drags.
Hell yeah.
Little Guido also attempts a crossbody, only for Rotten to catch him and dump him over the ropes onto the timekeeper's table. And Axel rolls out to continue the punishment and is handed a pie from a fan, smashing it into Guido's face before running him into the guardrail. Little Guido is retreating up the aisle while Rotten grabs a chair to use, nailing him over the head when Smith would distract Axel, allowing Guido to recover to return the chair shot. Back in the ring, little Guido keeps covering for 2 counts, hitting elbow drops, clotheslines, and goes for a body slam, only for Rotten to roll him up. But the ref is distracted by JT on the apron. Guido finally hits that body slam, and he starts working the arm of Axel with different holds, but they don't really do anything. But Rotten makes it to the ropes, where Smith begins to choke him, before little Guido delivers another body slam and heads up top for a diving leg drop, only for Axel to roll out of the way.
Nobody home.
Rotten with left hands and a clothesline before hitting the Dominator for the pin and the win. Post-match, JT grabs the mic, asking Guido what happened, before apologizing to Axel to prevent from being attacked himself.
And then telling him, yeah, that's right. Better walk away. Kick your ass. And then Axel turns around and then turns back around.
And he cowers again until Axel leaves.
JT.
Such a fun act.
Yep.
It is. Yeah, and it's so funny that, like, one of the first big, like, package spots was a JT spot from early ECW. And then he just kind of disappeared for a long time. And we're like, oh, yeah, JT's fun. And then he shows up and we're like, all right, what are we doing? And then he starts this Italian thing. And it's just, like, been slowly building. And now it's fun again. He's got Guido. He's probably a little more comfortable with this Italian thing because he's been doing it for, feels like months at this point.
Yep. So we go to our fifth match. The Sandman and Too Cold Scorpio with Missy Hyatt.
The Walking Riot.
Versus the Bruise brothers of Ron and Don Bruise. And Sandman and Scorpio are dancing with Missy between them at one point, with Joey calling it a Hyatt sandwich, saying it's the first one on TV, but probably not the first one someone's recorded it.
Hey-o.
Funny that Sandy
Not the
is
last time.
yeah. Funny that like Sandy is like, okay, well we have him in this tag team with Too Cold because he's not really the man can't work. So it just makes sense for the moment since he doesn't have the title.
So Don uses his power advantage on Too Cold, but then misses a clothesline, allowing Scorpio and Sandman to ping-pong punching in the corner, only for Ron to come in and attack Too Cold from behind to regain control. The Bruise brothers look to hit a double big boot, but Scorpio ducks and slides his way to the floor to escape and regroup. Back in the ring, Too Cold's punched down and choked, tossed to the ropes, and comes back with a crossbody, only for Don to catch him, but Scorpio turns it into an arm drag.
Nice.
Don swats away a dropkick, then clotheslines Too Cold down to the mat, allowing Ron to come back in with a body slam and multiple elbow drops. The Bruise brothers then hit a double team flapjack on Scorpio, dropping him hard on the mat. Too Cold tries to fire up with chops, but Ron no-sells it and sends Scorpio to the corner, who attempts to leap up and over the charging Bruise, only to be caught, so Too Cold transitions it into a head scissors. Scorpio nails several drop kicks to send Ron to the floor, so Don comes in, sending Too Cold to the corner, where he tries to nail the same head scissors, but Don just shoves him off to the concrete. Sandman then comes in only to receive a double big boot and a whipping from the use of a belt.
And they're not even doing it the way that doesn't hurt. You're supposed to fold it in half and hit him across the back. And they got it, so it's like the end of that thing.
Wrapping around him. Yep.
The working way is folding it in half. This is just how you hit somebody with a belt if you want to leave giant welts.
Yeah, I mean, the way that they were hitting Too Cold earlier, it seemed like there was some real anger between the two teams.
Make it real. Scorpio's like, I'll be fine.
Missy seems to be getting excited about the whipping, telling them to do it harder.
She's all horny, dog.
So they continue until Sandman can get up to his feet to fight back, taking them both down.
With low blows.
Sandman then grabs his beer and pours it on Hyatt before licking it off. But this allows the Bruise brothers to regroup and hit another double big boot. Scorpio has recovered now, and he flies in off the top rope with a double clothesline, so everyone is out on the mat. When Sandman gets up to drop an elbow on Ron and a slingshot dive out to the floor onto Don. And everyone begins to brawl into the crowd, and Sandman's tossed into a chair held by a fan, when all of a sudden Too Cold has climbed to the top rope to dive out onto everybody in the crowd. EC-Dub, EC-Dub, EC-Dub. Scorpio and Don make their way back to the ring where Too Cold starts to dance for the crowd, allowing the Bruise brother to attack from behind, while Sandman and Ron continue the melee in the front row. Scorpio nails a spinning heel kick and a moonsault onto Dawn for the pin and the win.
Hey guys, it happened.
Did.
We watched it. It happened. Yeah.
I don't miss her.
So we go to our 6th match. Prime Time Brian Lee versus Tommy Dreamer. And we get a clip of Prime Time pledging his life to Raven and that Dreamer's ass is his.
Yeah, it's really fun, quick. I don't know if it's fun, but it's a quick insert, like backstage promo that just looks like it's from a basement, like angles up at him. It's not something you see a lot in these shows. Maybe on the weekly ECW show, because like we talked a lot about the fun Public Enemy and Mikey Whipwreck ones from back in the day. We haven't really seen anything like that in a while, but this one's like legitimately like 8 seconds.
Yeah. As Tommy makes his way out, Lee charges at him with a chair in the aisleway, only for Dreamer to duck, causing Primetime to hit the scaffolding instead, allowing Tommy to go low. They head into the ring with Dreamer hitting a chair-assisted jawbreaker.
Oof, that was a wild move.
A back body drop, which sends Lee to the floor and tosses him into the guardrail.
I will say, as dumb as I thought that move was when it was happening, Tommy Dreamer did sell it. For a second.
Tommy sets up Primetime on the apron with a chair in front of his face, before going back in the ring to get a running start for a baseball slide, only for Lee to move and use the chair across Dreamer's back. Tommy's tossed into the 3rd row, so they begin to brawl their way into the crowd, using chairs, bleachers, and right hands. And they end up under the Eagle's Nest on a platform, where Dreamer delivers a bulldog and more chair shots before smashing his face into the wall. Tommy then climbs up to the balcony and leaps off with a dive onto Primetime, but Lee recovers to use a few chair shots of his own as they continue the fight around the building. Back at ringside, where Primetime drops the guardrail on Dreamer's dreams of ever having children, before going back into the ring, where Lee gets a boot up into a charging Tommy. Followed up with a clothesline that Dreamer ducks, but it does take out the ref.
Ref Bob.
Primetime sends Tommy into the ring post shoulder first.
Posted.
Starts choking Dreamer when the Bruise brothers would come out.
Had enough of these guys.
Lee whips Tommy to a corner and then tries to take him over with a backslide, only for Dreamer to flip over and deliver a DDT, which brings the brothers into the ring to attack. They triple team Tommy, sandwiching his head between 2 chairs, with the Bruise brothers delivering stereo big boots.
Not again.
Primetime makes the cover for the pin, and no, Dreamer kicks out.
How?
Lee telegraphs a back body drop, allowing Tommy to hit another DDT, make the cover, but the brothers break up the pin with a chair shot. They then place a cinder block on Dreamer's crotch.
Because why not?
With Primetime nailing it with a chair before making the cover for the pin and the win. So a cinder block to the nuts is what it takes to...
And I've heard of ref bumps before, but this one was egregiously long.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
We then go to our 7th match.
I feel the same way.
Rob Van Dam versus Sabu. And the last time we saw RVD was at House Party 96, episode 182. And Joey tells us that RVD has a broken wrist, which you can see that he has a thing on, like a...
Taped up a little bit.
Taped up or a pad thing.
Small cast or pad
Yeah.
or whatever.
While Sabu has a broken...
Everything.
as he's sure something is broken or fractured.
Yeah, his brain, his soul, his bones.
Styles continues by saying Van Dam has a background in martial arts, while Sabu has an extensive background in insanity.
Absolutely true.
Yep.
And the match gets going with RVD evading Sabu before hitting multiple different kicks, including an axe kick, followed by a body slam and a rolling thunder splash.
Fun stuff.
The Homicidal One answers by tossing Van Dam to the floor, hitting a top rope leg drop on him once he returns to the apron for a 2 count. Sabu locks on a camel clutch and transitions into a single leg crab, keeping RVD on the mat with kicks to the knee. The Homicidal One sets Van Dam on the top, climbing up to dropkick RVD out to the concrete, before following out with a somersault plancha.
These guys are going hard. They're laying in a little bit.
Sabu sends RVD into the guardrail, but he charges into a big boot, allowing Van Dam to climb atop the railing, only for the Homicidal One to just shove him into the crowd. Sabu starts using chairs, dragging RVD to the front row before climbing back in the ring to use a chair to launch himself into a springboard crossbody back out onto Van Dam. The Homicidal One then grabs the timekeeper's table and bridges the apron and guardrail with it, setting RVD atop it, with Sabu heading to the top turnbuckle.
I mean, this is one of the more believable spots where you put a guy on a table and he doesn't move. Did you see the dent in the chair? Huge.
But as he gets there, Van Dam rolls off to the floor. The Homicidal One knocks RVD back to the guardrail and sets up a chair, trying for air Sabu over the table onto Van Dam, but he slips, allowing RVD to deliver some kicks and chair shots to gain the advantage. Van Dam then leaps off a chair onto the apron to springboard back towards the Homicidal One with a dropkick. Goes back to the apron with a chair in hand to leap off with a somersault plancha to take them both down.
Yeesh.
They make it into the ring where RVD hits a springboard leg drop for a near fall. Continues with a power bomb and a surfboard.
Also, Sandman, take note of that springboard leg drop.
But Rob can't hold onto the move because of the hurt wrist. Van Dam then applies a leg lock momentarily, before going back to kicks to knock Sabu into the corner, placing him on the ropes and picking him up on his shoulder, only for the Homicidal One to counter it into a DDT. Sabu then sets RVD on the ropes before trying for air Sabu, only for Van Dam to leapfrog the attempt, grab the chair and swing it, only for the Homicidal One to escape out to the floor, sending the chair flying into the crowd.
RVD calls for the chair back. He needs it back.
And the crowd tosses it to him.
Mm-hmm.
So he sets it up, only to leap over it and the top rope with another somersault plancha.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Yeah, these guys are doing some wild, brutal shit. It kind of feels like a similar match format to the Mikey Whipwreck match.
Okay.
But you know, RVD weighs like 40 pounds more than Mikey Whipwreck.
And he's a little bit more athletic.
And he's more athletic. So like that, you know, Sabu does that DDT. There's like one of the nastiest DDTs. There's like some stuff that legitimately looks like too good to the point where it's like that guy should be hurt, but maybe these guys are just good together, which we all know. They're pretty good together.
I mean, they did train together.
Yeah, they just got it like that.
Back in the ring, Van Dam gets a 2 count before heading up top. Only for Sabu to meet him there, but RVD is able to shove the Homicidal off and through the table.
Nice table use for ECW. You forgot it was there for a minute.
Van Dam then leaps off the top with a double axe handle, only for Sabu to have moved. The Homicidal One sets up another table, setting RVD on it, before hitting 2 slingshot somersault sentons onto Van Dam and the table to finally get it to break.
He has to do it twice, but he basically lands like one leg on RVD's head, maybe. But it mostly just looks like he broke the table with his ass and missed RVD. Still brutal, but you can see the spots right before that are very similar. The missed axe handle to the Mikey Whipwreck match from 7 days ago. So it's like, oh, you know, we can do some bigger things and some different things, but I feel like this is fresh enough in their mind, that in Sabu's mind, that it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Back in the ring, Sabu gets a near fall, then nails an Arabian press for a 2 count. A clothesline, tries for a second one, only for RVD to duck and hit a bridging German for a near fall.
Oh, I love these men.
Van Dam then heads to the top, comes off with a somersault neckbreaker for a 2 count. drags the homicidal one draping over the apron so RVD could hit a slingshot leg drop.
Ooh, and it's nasty, and RVD was angry.
Sabu rolls back in, only for Van Dam to come back into the ring with another slingshot leg drop for several near falls. RVD looks to set up the chair, but the homicidal one is back to his feet and leaps on top of Van Dam to drive him down face first into the steel. Sabu then sets RVD draping on the top rope, delivers a DDT for a 2 count, before leaping off of a chair onto the ropes for a moonsault back over the chair onto Van Dam for the pin and the win.
I mean, come on. How cool does that look? He was doing parkour, guys.
Post-match,
Parkour hardcore.
the fans applaud the match, while the homicidal one helps RVD to his feet to show him respect. Sabu extends his hand, but Van Dam walks away, with the fans booing and chanting asshole.
Uh-oh.
I know. I mean, shit. RVD didn't really lose because he just injected some life into ECW, and what we're looking for, it's time.
Old Sabu some competition that he's needed for quite some time.
Absolutely.
Possibly a new best friend in the making.
Absolutely, a contentious friend.
So we go to our 8th match. Raven with Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie versus the franchise, Shane Douglas, with Kimona Wanalaya for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
And Kimona Wanalaya is now matching Shane Douglas in her yellow gear.
All because Raven and Stevie slapped her at the last show last week.
Of course, it'd be silly for her to still be with them. Or at least upsetting.
The champion did come out first. Foreshadowing.
I mean, hopefully. I would love to see this belt around Shane Douglas.
The Fabulous Ones do a parody of the Dudes with Attitude entrance, all while Raven sits stoically in the corner.
I mean, what does Raven do best?
Exactly that.
Yep.
So, like I said, the reason she's with Shane because of the slap. She dumped Raven and sided with the franchise, promising to reveal a shocking truth that would cost Raven his title, only for the champ to say it would hurt Tommy Dreamer even more. And Shane takes the mic saying history is about to repeat itself when he wins back his title, before saying that Beulah had cheated on Raven, but she also cheated on Tommy.
Whore!
Calling them both suckers. And Dreamer makes his way out demanding to know what Douglas is talking about, with the franchise getting on his knees saying, "You can knock me out all you want, Mr. Hardcore, but if you can't take the truth, you ain't hardcore."
Come on, Shane, we love this is good. I mean, it's silly, but he's good at doing silly.
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells him that Beulah isn't pregnant.
What?
Tommy wants to know who he is, but Shane says it's not a he. When Kimona steals the mic and says, "It's me!"
Yeah, it's really funny because you know what it's building up to, but like they can't give her the mic because she can't talk, so he just like holds it out and she just like yells it into it, and she does. It's a little bit lower than that maybe, but it's still funny.
Beulah arrives, and the two women begin to make out. When Dreamer would grab them, as Douglas asks what he has to say, and Tommy responds with, "I'll take them both. I'm hardcore," before kissing both women.
It's the triple kiss. Is this pre or post? I guess there's a triple kiss. Is probably later in Real World.
This would be before, I think.
Yeah, this is before. Remember the Real World triple kiss thing?
Yeah.
I remember.
I don't remember what season it was.
And the reason I think it's before is because this angle, they would actually show it on Hardcore TV in the following weeks.
Yeah, like the kids.
We're talking like the challenge with Abe and Veronica and.
I never watched the challenge. I think it was on just a Real World season where they get drunk at a club or whatever. And
I mean, there was the Vegas season where everybody was kissing everyone. So.
Yeah.
But they would show it on the Hardcore TV.
Mm-hmm.
Several TV networks would remove them from their network because of
That.
the lesbian kiss.
I mean, it is...
HLA got them kicked off a network.
It was regular television. It'd be like one of those things where, like, if I was watching this, my mom would be like, "Fucking, come on, dude!
See, like,
We're turning. You shouldn't. Let's turn this off."
Back in the day, I
'Cause it
remember
is trash.
seeing ECW on Fox. Fox was famous for, Married with Children and all these other shows that were trying to push the line. So if they got kicked off of Fox stations, that boggles.
What did Al Bundy's shirt say?
I don't remember.
It was misogynist and very funny. Not that I'm a misogynist, but the shirt's funny for the character.
I'm trying to remember because they had a club. What was the club called? It was just guys.
Yeah.
So Dreamer and the ladies leave to the back, leaving Raven dejected over losing all of his ladies to Tommy.
This motherfucker's always dejected. He's not even happy when he has a lady.
And the franchise takes advantage as the match gets going, causing Raven to regroup several times. As Raven returns to the apron, Shane knocks him off and into the guardrail before leaping over the ropes with a plancha.
Raven's got no pussy. That's the chant that they do. It's very funny.
Raven's whipped into the steel multiple times before returning to the ring, where Douglas keeps up the attack before applying a sleeper, only for Raven to escape with a jawbreaker.
Yeah, and Raven looks even more depressed in between shots. He just kind of walks off for a second, staring at the floor.
The franchise comes back with a short arm clothesline and back to the sleeper, only for Raven to toss him off to the ropes and lock on a sleeper of his own, jumping on Shane's back for extra leverage. But Douglas just dumps Raven over to the floor. Raven's tossed into the front row, followed by the franchise going to the top rope, where he flies out with a crossbody, before they use canes, metal plates, chairs, and a cheese grater to bust Raven open.
And Shane Douglas obviously means business if he's coming off the top like that. It's not Shane Douglas style. Got the cheese grater, Raven's busted open, he needs this belt.
Going at the top rope like he's Shawn Michaels or something.
They brawl through the crowd and towards the Eagle's Nest, where Raven press slams Shane from the bleachers onto the platform, followed by a bulldog onto a chair. They continue their brawl and they head out into the parking lot, where there is no camera.
We can imagine what's happening. He's going to get thrown into a car, maybe the brick wall, and then back into the ring. Yeah. Back into the crowd.
Head first into a fire hydrant.
Oh, that sounds scary. Dangerous.
They finally make their way back to the ring, where Douglas lands a belly-to-belly suplex. He goes for a cover, only for Brian Lee to be distracting the ref. And this brings out Tommy to chase away Primetime. But once the franchise gets to his feet, he only sees Dreamer. So Shane goes after Tommy, delivering a belly-to-belly suplex to him. Douglas goes back to Raven, when Dreamer would attack from behind, bringing out officials to stop Tommy and the franchise from fighting.
And this match is no DQ?
As are most matches at ECW. Shane gets back in the ring while still jawing with Dreamer, allowing Raven to roll him up for the pin. And no! Douglas kicks out. Raven goes for a suplex, but it's blocked, allowing the franchise to suplex Raven onto the ropes, before setting him up on the top rope to attempt a superplex. But he's shoved off to the mat, followed by Raven coming off with a double axe handle. Raven now sets up Shane for a superplex, but he's blocked, and it's countered into a front suplex, followed by a crossbody, only for Raven to use the momentum to roll on top for the pin, and no! Douglas kicks out again! The franchise blocks the snapmare and turns Raven over into a backslide for a 2 count, then locks on a figure 4. Meanie then jumps to the top rope, attempts a Meanie salt, but Shane has moved out of the way. Douglas then applies a single leg crab, only for Richards to come in with a Stevie kick, allowing Raven to roll on top for a near fall.
Oof.
The franchise delivers a DDT for a 2 count, a spine buster, before going to remove Raven's medical boot, because he actually had a broken foot.
Okay.
So he was wearing this for extra support. And then places him in another figure 4. Now the Bruise brothers make their way out, and they stomp on Shane, but Ron misses a big boot, allowing Douglas to nail a belly-to-belly suplex. While all that was happening, Raven has gotten back to his feet, and he grabs the medical boot, and he clocks the Franchise with it, making the cover for the pin and the win. So after the match, Joey makes his way to the ring, and he's interviewing Shane, who expresses frustration about Raven. He takes another shot at Shawn Michaels before saying he eats, sleeps, and breathes the ECW title, and no other belt means anything to him. Too Cold Scorpio, the ECW television champion, then makes his way to the ring, saying he's tired of the Franchise running his mouth, and that the TV title means more to him than any other belt. Scorpio calls Shane a punk, dares him to come and get it, but Douglas says he doesn't want Too Cold's belt.
Yeah, Too Cold says Eddie wanted it, Dean wanted it. Like, this means something. These guys are good wrestlers, and you should fucking respect it.
After Scorpio turns his back, the Franchise attacks him, nailing a belly-to-belly suplex and whipping him with the title belt. Sandman then rolls into the ring to stop the attack, only for him to get the same from Shane, before Douglas grabs the kendo stick to deliver cane shots to both men as well.
Right in there.
The Franchise continues by pile-driving Too Cold onto the television title, then places the belt on Scorpio before leaving to the back as we fade to black.
You want your belt? There you go.
So I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of Hostile City Showdown 1996?
Some good stuff. A few big angles. ECW, for all of my complaints of it recently feeling a little stale, feels like it's juicing up a little bit. Devon, RVD, Gangstas, Shane, Raven, Too Cold. There's all these angles, and only 2 of these guys are like kind of fresh. But all the other guys have fresh angles. Sandy feels washed, but people love him still. But for me personally, I'm like, kind of had enough of them.
Yep.
Taz is on a slow build. FBI is new and fun. And this last match felt like a wrestling match. It was like maybe like 40% wrestling match, 60% ECW, which is a really good combination for me personally. I prefer maybe like the other way around, but I know it's like going to see a slasher movie and asking for it to be fucking intelligent. It's like, oh, I'm going to see Friday 6. It's like, well, I'm not expecting any like crazy swerves, but if it's done well, I will recognize it.
Hey, Friday 6 had a song by Alice Cooper, so
It
that's
did.
what they needed.
It's a pretty good song.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good bad song.
The movie itself was a pretty good bad movie.
Yeah, it's definitely better than a few of them.
Yes.
I'm a Friday 2 guy.
I'm a 4.
Yeah, 4 is very good.
Yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Friday. We're here to talk about ECW. Shane, how do you feel about this?
Kind of the same. I mean, for the most part, it was a solid show. I'm trying to think through here. Let me scroll. The Dudleys were fun. The first match, but you need something to start the show off anyways.
That's how all ECW shows are. The
Yeah.
first match, okay, well, it's going to be a big, weird pull apart that takes too long.
Devon Storm, his bump was painfully crazy.
Devon Storm,
missing the table.
he got way more like offense on than I thought
Yeah.
he would, which was nice.
I did too, because I was struggling to remember if we had watched him yet. I totally spaced on him from the...
That show was shot
Tournament.
poorly and it was quite
Yeah.
a while ago, so you're
but
not wrong for forgetting.
Full-blooded Italians were fun. The tag match with Sandman and Scorpio against the Bruise Brothers, it went more than I thought it would, and the Bruise Brothers actually put up more of a challenge than I thought that they were going to. Basically just getting in there and slapping Scorpio around. Yeah, I mean, there's not much I have to complain about this show.
Yeah, I feel like it always happens where it's like There's the New York show, which feels kind of like a warm-up for the show that's going to happen back in Philly next. Yeah. And it's always, like, fine. But then the Philly show kind of just, they save like, the bigger angles and the better matches for the Philly show. So it's like, oh, that one's kind of a warm-up that's like building, and it's like, well, the people in Philly didn't all go to that show and they don't have that tape. It's only 7 days difference. So that's like, I noticed that Sabu RVD was like a similar layout to the Mikey Whipwreck match, but obviously a little bit more creativity, as those guys RVD and Sabu know each other and know what each other can do, so everything's a little bit crispier, even though it's still dangerous. And some of those moves, those DDTs, those leg guillotines, they look absolutely brutal. And maybe it's just because they know each other.
So most of the time when we watch these ECW shows, like the first couple matches are just kind of trash matches. Mm-hmm. They're like whatevers. We get like the 5th match is usually your like capital W wrestling match of the show.
Yeah, that's like your light heavyweight, your
have a couple
title.
Walking brawls in the last 3 matches, you know, but they're just kind of whatever. For the first time, I really feel like ECW built upon itself with each match, like you would normally do with a regular wrestling show.
Yeah,
like you have your newcomers; they're going to have that short match, but it's going to be like EPR and Supernova. It was a fun match, and then you have they don't need to have a finish. You can have the whole Eliminators Gangsters thing, take that over. That's fine. Yep. I don't mind. You know, the Dudleys and Pitbulls. We're getting over the Dudleys' new character. Mm-hmm. That's a fun match.
From comedy to more, I'm gonna kick the shit out of you. So
exactly.
Yeah, Devon brought the juice. Devon brought a bag full of blow.
I mean, Devon Storm showed up for Taz.
He did. He totally did. He got more than Chris Jericho did.
Yeah, that was exactly.
We've determined the FBI's fun. The Sandman, Two Told Scorpio, and Bruise Brothers. Like it is a walk and brawl, but it doesn't overstay its welcome.
And it's like, well, it's just a little fresher. It doesn't feel like a Monster of the Week thing where it's like it's the same show every week, but you know, last week it was Bigfoot and this week it was Sasquatch, and it's like, oh no, like
I was hoping you were going to say Loch Ness.
But it just felt like each match just felt like was just that little bit better, a little bit better. Now, obviously, RVD and Sabu, best match on the show. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I might even say shortlist.
It was great.
I was torn between that.
I think it's close. I don't know if it's perfect.
Right there, yeah. Like there might be another RVD Sabu match that is better, because I'm sure we'll see them again
very soon.
I would assume before this year is up. You know.
I think in our next ECW show, I think they match up again.
Yeah, probably 2 or 3 falls or something.
But the final match, the Raven and Shane, I think it might be my favorite Raven match.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to include the angle because the angle is the match. Is such a like part of the match because Raven does it like, yes, you are correct. He always does act dejected. But no, you could tell that even palpable. More.
Yeah, it's palpable.
His character work in showing that he was even more dejected than normal.
He was more out of it, and Shane Douglas preyed upon it by doing things that are a little out of character for Shane Douglas, like jumping out off of the
because he's willing to do whatever it takes to get that belt.
And he still lost to heel tactic interference, which only makes you want to see it again.
And then at the end of the show, they set up the next pay-per-view as well. Yep. Completely. So we know what 2 of the matches are going to be in our next show already. Too Cold and Shane, Rob Van Dam and Sabu in a rematch. Like, I'm excited for that show already.
And I'm excited to see these new characters as well as, or new wrestlers as well as the wrestlers that just got a new, like, I wouldn't say a coat of paint, but they got a little bit of life, like, breathed into them.
Yeah.
Like the ECW gods poured a little bit of beer in their mouth, and they're back. They're back on their feet, and a little bit more interesting. It's not a full coat of paint. They're still those guys, but they're more interesting. Yeah, and we saw it a little bit on the last show, and this one kind of makes it more concrete. And it's nice to not like. A lot of the times I'm like, okay, another ECW show, and there's always stuff that I like on all those shows, but I feel like I'm excited for the next one, which isn't always the case.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Typically with an ECW show, I find myself having to rewind to go back just because it's one of those, this can't be the entire show. Did I miss something? And I had that same feeling today, but it was because there was no shit show in the middle of it all.
There's no breathing room really. Whereas even on the last show, there was like the Bruise Brothers brawl, which like outside of the double chair shot spot, like I didn't even take notes. I was like, what is here? And then this next show did everything that the last show did, a little better, bigger angles, and the Bruise Brothers were more interesting, and they're still my least favorite thing on the show.
Yeah.
But they are working on earning their spot. Whether they do or not, we don't know. But, it's kind of like the Eliminators. Came in and was like, okay, Pitbulls 2, and they have earned their spot.
Yep.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? There. All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are some of the best moments of the show?
RVD's selling and how close he takes those DDTs, those leg drops, and Sabu as well. These guys trust each other, even though they probably shouldn't. At least RVD shouldn't.
The leap over the chair and the ropes.
Oh my god.
For the move to the floor.
Insane.
It's just like,
yep.
What?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like RVD, like he's just shorter than Sabu, more built, but those thighs, man, it's got fucking springs in them. I don't know how tall he is, but he's a powerful man.
I want to say he's like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah. So yeah, he's of average height. But those thighs don't lie. Whereas who knows how big Sabu is as he runs around in his hammer pants.
It's tough.
He's 6 foot.
I had fun with the Dudleys and the Pitbulls. I had fun with Taz and Devon. I had fun with Guido and JT.
Like, what match did you not have fun?
That's why I'm trying to figure out.
It was
that's the thing. That's the thing about this show. It's just it's just a really fun show. It's super easy watch. It's a super solid show.
Match 1, I don't remember a whole lot of, but that's typical on the startup. But
ECW.
No, it wasn't a bad match.
Yeah. ECW's been a slow build to it getting to us being like, oh, ECW. It's ECW now. And there's been so many times where we've gotten a skip in our step or whatever. But right now it feels like everything that has a cylinder is running on it. So it's not, so it's like, oh, maybe this is, we're finally off to the races. Because there have been so many, I think we're off to the races. I think we're working on being off to the races. And this one really feels like it kind of is all coming together. There's nothing here that wasn't an angle, right?
No,
I don't think so. Because even Sabu having those big matches with those matches with those big guys, it's like okay.
Yeah.
And I was really getting worn out, and paid off with Mikey and then RVD and. Yeah. And the tag stuff is paying off.
The entire show is a best moment, which I don't know if I've said for any show or specifically any ECW show, because it was an enjoyable watching experience.
As soon as I finish a show, I immediately underneath it in my notes write my thoughts off my head. Maybe it's one sentence, maybe it's a couple sentences, but here I'm like, oh, like writing down the names of things that I'm excited about, and it's just about everybody on the show: Devon, RVD, Gangsters, Shane, Tommy Dreamer, Raven, Too Cold, Taz, FBI. Like the only thing that's not on the list is essentially the people that are part of these angles but are not the more important part of the angle, and then the Sandman. But Sandman feels kind of lost at the moment, but it doesn't matter because he's over as hell.
Yep.
He's just lost for me. I'm not particularly engaged, but I'm engaged by all these other guys who are in at least one of every match on the card.
Mm-hmm. Anything disappointing on the show?
No, it's fucking pretty good.
Yeah, it's a solid show from start to finish. So.
Yeah, I'm loving FBI.
Heck yeah. How about best performer of the night?
I'm going RVD because nobody has quite taken bumps as believably solid that were not that were not like accidents. Like no one sold a DDT like he has, or taken a like guillotine apron leg drop like he has. I don't think, where it just looks absolutely devastating and then it gets back up, which just is like, oh, he just knows what to do and how to protect himself, or he's a Terminator. And I don't think RVD is a Terminator. Man talks about how his body is torn to pieces and he lives off weed.
I'm going to give some flowers to Dreamer just for, one, taking the double big boot with the chairs again, taking the cinder block to the balls.
Yeah. This is where I feel like he's finally the innovator of violence thing, which I don't know if they've called him that yet.
I don't think they've called it.
Yeah, but I feel like this is the beginning of that, because there was stuff before, but like these last two shows, like he's really done some innovative things. And I'd like to think that those were spots that he came up with and told those guys, hey, let's try this.
And then he sells the entire angle with the I'm hardcore.
Yeah. It's very like the machismo and cojones of like a Steve Austin, but in that like trashy, like I go to strip clubs every night way, as opposed to like I drink beer and kick ass kind of way. Because Stone Cold was like never like a horny guy or whatever. No, like that. He never had any like relationship.
Beer and fuck some
yeah,
shit
he was Stone Cold. He was a lone wolf. Like yeah. Tommy Dreamer is the everyman of the everyman that's more relatable than Sandman, I think. More people look like Tommy Dreamer than Sandman, and nobody wants to beat Sandman. Tommy Dreamer, when he first started, he was wearing a singlet. He was real fit. He was a little frat boy. Yeah, a little handsome frat boy, a little handsome Italian-looking frat boy. Yep. And now he is the guy that bellies up to the bar after his construction job, but he's everybody's favorite guy to work with.
I mean, all the chicks want to make out with each other and him. So.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That plays into the Philly crowd. They want that too.
I wonder if he's going to get a blow job.
If he gives him enough amaretto.
He's going to come on and lay someone.
That's disgusting.
How about most surprising on this show?
That ECW had it in them to put out a show like this. Because, I mean, typically...
I think Paulie's got the right guys.
I mean, do we think this might be the best ECW show we've watched?
I'm thinking it.
I think it's the most complete ECW show we've seen. Where, like, beginning...
Complete and consistent.
Yeah, beginning to end, like, everything matters. Because even there's matches that we really love that we've even shortlisted, but they just, like, happened that one time, and those guys, like, flew in and flew out. But these guys are all sticking around.
It broke away from
the... feels like a full roster.
Mm-hmm.
Broke away from the ECW norm of, all right, well, we want to shine the light on these few people, so let's have them show up 17 times throughout the episode. And instead, they gave us the right amount of each person instead of giving us Raven, Stevie, Tommy, a tag team running in to do something, the tag team that hates them running in to stop them, everybody running away, and then 2 matches later it all happening again, just with a different thing.
I will say my only thing that I didn't love, but it still pays off and makes sense, is that the double run and pull apart within 16 minutes of the show. But it was over, and we know that it's leading up to something. So like, and that was at the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. So it was like, well, after that, like I was like, oh, okay, well, it was happening, but it was all pedal to the metal from there on, and that was smarter to do than to put it later in this show in between some stuff. I feel like by the time like 2 matches after that, I forgot about it because I was so engaged. And definitely. And it's still resonates because they keep doing this pull apart. It's like, all right, well, we all want the fucking gangsters to just fucking have a quad juice match.
We also need to give some flowers to El Puerto Riqueno for taking that back body drop to the floor.
Yeah.
That's a nasty bump.
It's really nasty. It reminded me...
No one should take that bump.
It reminded
especially
me
from the bad crew.
Fuck yeah. It reminded me of... I think it's probably years ago, but I think it was maybe when they were juniors, or at least junior heavyweights. It might not have been even in New Japan, but there's a spot where Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega, and like Kenny Omega takes like basically off of the post, like to the floor, a bump, and he was like, that was the worst thing that I've ever done, and I legitimately thought I would vomit just because I felt so gross. It's like my whole body turned to jello. And Puerto Riqueno did that for less money.
Yeah.
By a lot.
Well, hopefully some money.
Yeah, hopefully they gave him an extra $50, bought him a case of beer. Maybe, gave him a couple extra toots.
Making their way to the ring!
It's trivia time! So this week, the category is pay-per-view.
We're back, and it's time to play the feud! Let's have it! Sean.
So the points are based on when you give the correct answer. Starting with 5, going down with each match given. Mm-hmm. You're going to give me the name of the show that I give you matches from.
Starting from 5 matches below the main event?
Yeah.
Up. Between 93 and 94?
Correct.
Okay.
Put your thinking caps on. Here we go.
Cat.
First match for you for 5 points. Arn Anderson with Colonel Robert Parker and Ming versus Johnny B. Bad for the WCW World Television Championship.
It's tough.
Arn and Parker with Ming. Bad.
I feel like I know it's not, well, I don't want to say it and give it away, but I know what it's not, but I don't know what it is.
Cat.
Shane, have you got a guess?
So that means next clue.
All right. For 4 points, Harlem Heat of Stevie Ray and Booker T
versus the Nasty Boys.
With Sister Sherry.
Okay, I'm just guessing.
Versus the Nasty Boys of Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs.
No caveats?
No belt on the line on
That
this
gives
one.
another clue to me.
Harlem Heat versus the Nasties and Arn versus Johnny.
No type of match?
No.
Okay. Just checking. You know where I'm looking. You know where I'm headed.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
I'd say it's a tough one because those two have fought on a few different shows. Yeah, I'll take the next clue.
I know. I want to guess, but I'm not going
All right. For 3 points, Kevin Sullivan versus Mr. T.
I'm going to guess.
Michael's guessing.
Stargate 93?
That is incorrect.
All right. Shane, you going to guess or you going to get the next one?
Kevin Sullivan versus Mr. T. Let me think here. Trying to remember. Hogan debuted in 94 at... Which one does he at? Was he at Wrestle War or whatever the hell that show was called? Was he at Bash at the Beach? Fuck it, I'll just take the next clue.
All right. For 2 points, Avalanche with Kevin Sullivan versus Sting.
Double duty, Kevin Sullivan.
I'll just say Bash at the Beach 94. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Or
I'm
Beach
so
Blast
mad.
Or
I'm so mad at myself. I looked it
Is
up.
it Beach Blast or is it Bash at the Beach?
It's neither.
That is incorrect
It's neither
as well.
of those.
Okay.
Michael had the wrong year.
It was Starrcade 94.
The main event was The Butcher with Kevin Sullivan and Avalanche versus Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship.
My reason for guessing 93.
The triple main event.
My thought process was that I had not thought that Hogan had showed up yet, so that's why I went 93 instead of 94. And then I was like, whenever I said 93 and you said no, I was like, well, I know it's Starrcade 94 then. But then I had to double check. I had to looked it up.
If you had waited for the Mr. T, you would have gotten 94.
Yeah. And see, I was thinking it was...
No, I guessed after Mr. T.
At the start of Hogan being...
Okay. I think so.
And
then it was his.
Before.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, because I had the question of Sullivan and Mr. T.
Yeah, because you said Bash Beach is like, no. Because, and then the other thing that tipped me off was when it was Nasties and Harlem Heat, but you didn't put a caveat on a type of match.
Yeah. And
I had to ask, because otherwise it's obviously uncensored.
Yeah, see, I was thinking it was at the start, shortly after Hogan had got there.
Yeah, but I know Mr. T's not showing up for something that's not Starrcade, and I still could have guessed 93 after that, honestly. But either way, I feel okay about my guess.
Can't win them all.
Next week, In Your House, Good Friends, Better Enemies?
In Your House.
Benemies?
Enemies.
No, but Benemies, better enemies. I don't know. I'm fucking around.
Music from this week's show is Thunderkiss 65.
5.
Yeah.
By Rob Zombie. And Raven won our main event, so we play Come Out and Play.
Nothing makes me more upset than him coming out to that song.
By The Offspring.
I'll never not say it, and I'm sorry for saying it every time.
Yeah. It seems like more of a Mikey song.
It is more of a Mikey song. It's more of an anybody song with him because he wears Ministry shirts, Melvin shirts. He should be coming out to like Pearl Jam or just something heavier, 9 Inch Nails. But like The Offspring is a pop punk band, and he's this like dour butthole. He's not coming out to Nirvana. He's not coming out to Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is what he should come out to. He should come out to Down in a Hole. Down in a Hole. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. Have Raven come out to Rooster.
Or if I could, yeah, would.
Whenever I
would be a great song.
Find a time machine. Forget Hitler as a baby.
You can't kill a baby. That's my argument against that.
ECW, Philadelphia.
Not anymore.
Find Raven. Be like, dude, down in the hole.
You know what people don't say? They're like, if you had a time machine, it's like, well, I go back and kill baby Hitler. It's like, no, you go back and you steal baby Hitler and then just like adopt him to somebody else in a different country. It's not going to be Hitler.
There's always a chance that...
Because he's a baby. You just take him to like Madrid or something.
There's always a chance that evil is inside him from the very beginning.
I don't believe that. Personally.
If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcast at. If you have any questions, comments, concerns...
Recipes!
Concerns.
Yeah.
What are you concerned about?
What was your favorite match on this show?
You want to correct us? If you want to correct us, you've already seen all this shit.
Do you think we're batshit crazy that we love this show? Tell us why.
That'd be interesting.
And if you have those recipes, we're going to Nebraska next week, guys. Shane's hometown.
Yeah.
Or state, I guess I should say, close.
A cult favorite Bruce Springsteen album.
Depends on the cult, I guess.
Dude, Atlantic City is an all-time great song.
But you can send any of those to us on our email at wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTOX. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters.
Separated.